So I'm going to share some of the things from CARE Michigan. Again, because ISPU, we share resources where they're appropriate because we want to make sure that you have whatever you need. So they know the law. I'm not a lawyer. But this is what they share with parents, with Muslim parents, about your rights in the public schools. You have the right to an inclusive learning environment, meaning all students should have a safe, inclusive, and respectful environment to learn. That's free from hate, bias, and discrimination from both peers and educators. You hear anything? Document it. Document, document, document. Report. If nothing is being done about it, report it again. If this teacher doesn't do anything, talk to the principal. If the school doesn't do anything, go to the school board. How many of you are part of school boards in your area? How many of you have been to a school board meeting? All right, okay, fix that. I saw one hand go up. That's where the policies about your students are made. They're not what happens in Lansing only trickles down. What happens in DC comes down later. It's what happens right here in your school district at the school board meetings. And if they don't see you there, if they don't hear your voice, guess what? Your story, your curriculum, your narrative, your issues are not part of the conversation. All right. Diverse thoughts in discourse. One question that came up from the parents is the anniversary of 9/11 is coming up, right? Next week. And unfortunately, I will tell you, most schools don't have proper lesson plans to teach that in their curriculum. And there's so many stories and so many reports of Muslim students feeling isolated, feeling attacked, feeling judged during those lesson plans because, it's rare where a teacher will go out of their way and find the proper, full, comprehensive story on how to teach that day. Thankfully, now we have Muslim organizations that have created lesson plans that you can share with your students, teachers. ING is one of them. CARE has some of those. We have some on our website. Feel free to take that lesson plan and share it with your school, right? Because they don't know, they don't have these resources. And so what often happens is the teacher will be sharing, or this is a very important part of our history, and they will teach about it. And because it's so sensitive, and most of these teachers literally lived through it, sometimes what you'll see is looks toward the Muslim student in the classroom as if they have the answer, or if they have something they want to contribute. Other students, because of what they hear at home, will look at the Muslim student. We've heard cases where that Muslim student will be called on, what do you think? What are they supposed to think? Most of the kids here were born after 9/11, so they have no memory of it. But that's a time where they feel attacked or they feel judged. So if that's you, one of the students here, raise that with your teacher. I know it's very uncomfortable. If you can't talk to that specific teacher, go to another teacher that you really feel comfortable with or that you like and say, you know what, today or yesterday we had a lesson about 9/11 attacks, and this is how I felt in the classroom. Make sure that you're bringing this up. Talk to your parents. Parents, go talk to the school. Don't be the spokesperson for your faith. This is why I say we're so grateful now to have this resource 20 years later, because when I was a student, I was the spokesperson for my faith in my classroom. I was an 8th grader. I had no idea. But now you don't have to be. You could just go and show, you know what, here's what American Muslims think about this issue or that issue. If you don't know where to find it, contact me. If you feel comfortable sharing your story, go for it, but don't feel obligated to. Your story is your story. You don't owe anybody to hear that. Be proud and be comfortable saying, I don't feel comfortable sharing this about my part of my family story. But I could tell you what other Muslims think. Here's the research. Accommodation for religious worship, and I'm almost done. I know I heard questions about place to pray, going out for Jum'ah, Ramadan. All of these things, as Muslim students, you have the right to a reasonable accommodation. What does reasonable mean? That's something for you and the school to figure out. At the end of the day, your kids have rights. If the school is not accommodating them, you can go and sue. But don't make that your first option. That's your last option, right? Your first option is to have that conversation and see what can be worked out. And then finally, in terms of religious accommodations, again, uniforms, topics that are discussed in the classroom, I want to point out you have the right to opt out of certain curriculums and certain things that are being taught in the classroom. There are a lot of issues that are very sensitive in our communities right now. If you don't feel comfortable your child learning about them, opt out. Meaning, just say, I don't want my child to be in that class for this discussion. And you have the right to do that. So I know we're at time, so I'm gonna stop here. You could find all of these resources, ispu.org, CARE Michigan, ING. Reach out to me if you don't know where to find them, and I'm happy to answer questions.